Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. If it's your first time here, we are happy to see you. And great to see a lot of new faces, some old faces. We still love you if you're old or new, though. So welcome.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to talk about some property management tonight. We got a great special guest, Miss Destiny, on, and she's going to spread some knowledge to you guys. Before we get into that, for anybody who is new, my name is Seth Timmerman. I've been investing in real estate since 2019 or so. I host a meetup locally here in Morgantown, West Virginia, where I am. And also help Ray run this event here. I'm actively investing in small to medium multifamily projects, duplexes, triplexes, mainly is what I like to hold, but do a lot of wholesaling. We're in 3 different markets right now on the East Coast. So a lot of fun.
Seth does it all. Morning, guys. Well, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are, I guess, in the world. Ray Glimp, over 100 doors, over 10 million in real estate deals. Several features, Yahoo, Google, NAACP, 40 under 40. But real estate investing is what we're here to do, what we're here to learn. And I'm happy to dedicate some time. Seth and I spend our time every Tuesday with you guys, help you get educated, 100% free. We spend our time 100% free on Tuesdays with you guys to bring value. So we're happy to be here. We appreciate everyone being here. If you have not signed up to register for the weekly reminders, just make sure you signed up. We're happy to have you.
Sorry about that. Wrong button.
And to everybody on Instagram, YouTube, welcome as well.
Sounds good. Just make sure that the lawyers have to hear the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any organization. The content provided is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. Listeners are encouraged to conduct their own research and consult appropriate professionals before making any decisions based on the information provided in this podcast. Any reliance you place on such information is strictly at your own risk.
Awesome.
We're happy to share that with anybody if you are so interested.
Awesome. Favorite part of the night. This is what we like to hear from you guys, to see what accomplishments you've made for this week, upcoming accomplishments for this month, your gold diggers, what wins you've had in the past week. Could be real estate related, personal. We just want to hear from you guys, see what you're getting done around the world. If anybody wants to unmute, share with us.
I'm going to throw one out there real quick for you guys.
Go ahead, Matt.
Anybody that's new, I'm in Columbus, Ohio, raised right here in Columbus Central. I had a win today. I had a closing this morning. As far as my team goes, we did $4 million in sales this weekend, the past weekend as a team collectively. And I also picked up 2 new buyers from a $1.2 million listing. And we are definitely steamrolling through the market right now. So it's definitely cooking up. But those are my small, big wins for today.
Good, man.
This past weekend.
Congratulations. I'm happy to hear that, man. Knowing where you came from, getting started till now, I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you.
And guys, in the chat, if you can, just make sure you drop your information, where you're from, drop your social media. If I don't follow you, make sure I follow you. Send me a DM. My DMs are flooded right now, but just send me a DM if I don't follow you. I love to follow all you guys. Make sure you're doing good. Anybody else has some small wins they want to share, or big wins?
Got something, DeAndre?
I think he.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, what's going on, everyone? My name is DeAndre. I'm kind of a beginner to this real estate thing. I just purchased actually my first home a year ago, back in May. It's a duplex, and a couple weeks ago we actually just got it renovated, like finished renovations, and got our first tenant in there, and the first check rolling in. So yeah, I guess a little bit of a milestone right there. Still got some work to do with the basement and some other things like that, but for now we just got the unit that's rentable finished and renovated, and now we just trying to continue to expand. So it's actually funny that we have a special guest today. That special guest was actually the buyer's agent for the seller's agent for that listing. So
awesome.
Kind of funny how that worked out.
Awesome. Congratulations. Look, we got a superstar as our special guest, huh?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any small wins, big wins? Okay, awesome. I'll share with you guys. I'll share my big win. I went to tour a property today. It was an off-market 3-bedroom, listed as a 3-bedroom. It's actually a 4-bedroom. It is a 4-bedroom. It was listed incorrectly, and so I will get to take full advantage of that. Also, if you guys are in the Virginia area this week, Thursday, 6:30 Eastern Time, I will be speaking at the Greater Richmond Real Estate Investment Association. If you guys love to, if you want to come, make sure you stop by, send me a DM. I can get you a link to get in. Hope to see you guys all there if you can make it. Seth, anything else before we move forward?
No, I mean, my small win's more on the personal side. I just got back from the vacation, so I was able to take my mother-in-law came into town, so she got to spend time with the granddaughter, and so my wife and my mother-in-law, my little daughter, we all went to Ocean City, Maryland, and spent a long weekend, get away from everything. So feeling refreshed and
awesome,
ready to head to Richmond on Thursday and go support Ray.
Good. Appreciate you. Stephanie said they're wrapping up on their rental and they're getting ready to get their first tenant moved in. So congrats to Stephanie. She moved to this program. She got it done. She got it done. I know a couple of you guys right now, you're about to get it done too. I'm excited to see you guys progress. So without further ado, let's get started, Seth. Let's get started digging in. All right. So I don't get political on this page at all. But I do want to talk about how politics and what's happening in the world right now affects the real estate world. Okay, so we've heard about whatever's happening in Iran and Israel. They are trying to produce pretty much or fund. The U.S. is going to try to produce the funds for $14 billion in assistance. And whenever this happens, what that means is that your dollar is devalued and assets go up, right? So whenever money is printed, there is more money made for your assets. So every time we see, a fund or we see relief or, college debt is forgiven. That is just more money that is pumped in. It's inflationary, but it also causes asset prices to rise over time. So making sure that you have assets, whether it be gold, real estate, tangible assets are going to be a great hedge against future inflation. Okay. Steph, anything you want to comment on before I go to the next one too?
I mean, that's what happened. That's where a lot of the Fed came in and started raising the Fed rate, which then again affected mortgage rates and was the cautionary factor that a lot of people talked about, that everything, all the appreciation and stuff that we saw in real estate during the COVID time was a bubble and it was going to burst and that we were going to go through a 2008 again because everything was so inflated. That obviously didn't happen. We saw some leveling out. We don't see a bunch of growth, but we didn't see a crash by any stretch of the imagination. This is just another kind of setup. If inflation numbers go back up, it's guaranteed that the Fed is going to react and play with numbers more.
Yeah,
and that's going to affect what we do. It's not going to affect it be the time to buy. It's going to affect how we buy.
And keep it real with you guys. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another rate hike. That would destroy the market, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw one more rate hike. And then following this, we need more homes in general. It's a supply and demand problem. We are short 6.2 or 7 billion homes or 7 million homes right now. And that won't be solved anytime soon. Okay. And so what the government is going to do and what I foresee is that they're going to fund and give grants, which is more inflation as well, to help build housing. Right. And we're starting to see that right now. So if you can, we always believe investing in real estate is a strong hedge against inflation, always has been. And we're going to stick to that on this channel here. On to the next one. Cool. Very special guest, Ms. Destiny. I've known Destiny for several years. She is a wealth of knowledge in the real estate, commercial real estate. I know her as one of the commercial queens. in the area. Me and her have toured many deals. I don't know if we've done one for sure, Destiny. We've looked at a couple. But today, her wealth of knowledge is in actually property management. And that's what we want to talk to her about today. She's joining us from the vehicle. It feels like a lot of guests join us from their vehicle. It's totally okay. We don't mind. We appreciate you taking the time, lending it out to the students and the people in the community as well. Destiny, if you want to give us just a brief introduction about yourself, what you do.
Well, I wear many hats. I am a residential agent, a commercial agent, a land agent, and investment property portfolio agent. I like to build people's portfolios and make them money. I also manage now about 300 units in Morgantown. I solely only manage in Morgantown, but I sell in many counties surrounding Montague County. And that's what I do.
Awesome.
Every day, all day. And I'm currently in my vehicle right now because I've been working contracts and doing appointments since 8 a.m. and just finished up with one and on my way to pick up my daughter from choir practice.
Okay. So and for you guys, I mean, it's just a testament to your property manager and your real estate agent you want working. I mean, that's it. And we'll dig into this, but I know Destiny. And there's been times I'm like, hey, Des, I want to see this property. And you make it happen, right? And
I literally drop everything for my people.
Yeah, you make it happen. So kudos to you. Destiny, we got some basic questions they're basic to me, but they might add a lot of value for people in the community. And I love to help the people in the community. So we got some real basic questions. Hopefully you can answer. I'm sure you can. We'll start with this one. What are the keys to finding the right property manager? What would you say?
Find someone that you connect with, someone that you can work with, someone who wants to work. There's a lot of property managers in Morgantown that offer basic property management. And then there's the property managers like what I do at Bell Cross that we literally handle the entire property from start to finish. We handle maintenance, we handle inspections, we handle evictions. So you have to figure out how invested do you want to be in your property, where you want to be a hands-on owner or you want to be a hands-off owner. But you also need to find a property manager that you gel with, that you connect with. Have I connected with all of my clients? No. I mean, because it's a human business as well. It's a people business. My number one goal when taking care of my owners is to make them money, because if they make money, they can buy more properties. So if they buy more properties, I make more money too. So you really just have to find that human connection, as well as find someone who actually cares about you as an owner.
That's amazing. So it's just more than a transaction, and that's what we like to hear too. Yeah. And guys, if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat. We'll answer them today. And we'll try to answer them in order as we go. We're going to get this first page done, and then we'll key up to some questions too.
I think a key on that one too, right, is you guys, when you're bringing on a property manager, you're bringing somebody onto your team, right? These are your properties. You're invested. The person that you're bringing on, they're on your team now, right? And that's what Destiny is saying. Like, her focus is the investor being profitable. So that's somebody that's looking out for the best interest of your company and your team. She knows that that's going to benefit her in the long run by getting more clients that way and get more properties to manage. So it's the right mindset to have, for sure.
Awesome. Again, guys, if you have questions, just drop in the chat and we'll answer them as we go through. What are some common faults you see in today's property management industry as a whole? Not just here, but throughout the U.S. What are some faults that you may see?
Some faults. Well, currently I just took on a very large property where the property manager, he's a very good person, but he was kind of trending more to taking care of the tenants and not the owner. And now that property is actually failing, and the owner has no income to do what he needs to do to make positive changes to the property for his tenants, whether they be current or future. And that gets in a sticky situation because now I'm taking over and I get angry tenants and I got a broke owner. So now I have to change not only the investment and make it a profitable investment to where he doesn't lose it to the bank, but also I got to fix the tenant problem. And there's not vacancies in the building. I think right now I have 2 vacancies. One was getting filled today, and I just took it on. What's today, the 16th? I took it on 16 days ago. But you have to like really dive in on, yes, of course, my number one focus is the owner, but you need tenants to stay long term. But it has to be a profitable property, or why have it? I mean, other than if you use it for other things like tax shelters and stuff. But yeah, that's a little bit of a fault that I'm finding with other managers. Now, I've lost properties to other managers in town, but it's not because I didn't do my job. It's because they were trying to find a lesser amount on the percentage that they had to pay for property management. So instead of paying the 10% property management fee, and I don't think people really realize how much goes into property management. If they walked a day in my shoes, they'd be like, girl, you can have 15%. But I usually lose them to like an 8%. But when I'm talking to the other property managers in town, I'm finding out that they're not even doing half of what I'm doing.
Yeah. And so
you're getting more money back from your management team, but you're getting less action. And
that's what I want to ask. So the person that you are managing, or that, you took the property from, do you feel like they were just taking it as, okay, this is easier for me to manage by, keeping the rents lower? And that's what I see a lot from property managers. They'll say, okay, let's just keep the rents lower so I can stabilize it and we can keep tenants long term. But then they're not maxing out the rents of what they should be. And then before you know it, you get behind on that fair market rent very fast.
I believe in being fair. I believe in taking care of my tenants. I want them to stay long term. But it's also about educating the tenants. When you do a rent increase, they always say, why? And then you got to bring it back to a financial understanding for them and say, I'm sorry, but taxes and insurance go up. And when taxes and insurance go up, we got to increase the rent. I don't want to increase the rent just to increase the rent. But and I've had this conversation with these tenants, if my owners can't pay the bill, then how are you going to live there when the bank takes it? Yep. So if you just bring it to like a level of understanding for them and you're just real with them, they get it.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I want to get to some of these questions that are in here because I don't want the questions to pile up. And our questions, we can skip our questions. We'll get to that. Is that okay, Seth? You mind?
Yeah.
So some Triple H asks, what are some good red flags to pay attention to when shopping for property managers?
Red flags. I don't really necessarily think they're red flags. It's just, do you connect with that property manager? Do you connect with that person? A human connection. How reachable are they? Like, I might make myself too available. I'll be honest with you, I am not the standard property manager. A standard property manager is someone who pretty much works like a 9 to 5, and you don't get them before and you don't get them after. And they got 2 phones. They got the work phone and they got their personal phone. I apparently don't have boundaries for myself, and I'm on all day. Do I appreciate calls at 9 o'clock at night? No, I don't. Do I get them? Yes, I do. 5 o'clock in the morning, I get things that probably should wait until 7 or 8. But I would look and see, like, do you have a connection with that person? Do they actually care about the well-being of your property and you? Yeah,
I like that. Typical percentage for Morgantown, that's our area. I think it's about 8 to 10. 12 is on a higher end, I would think.
10% is the standard.
Yeah, I think 10.
Mhm.
Is that pretty nationwide, or is that, what do you know what a national average would be?
No, I don't know what the national average is. Now, when I was looking at properties for myself in beach communities, it's a much higher percent. There was even companies that I was talking to that was asking for 25%.
Yeah. And so that's a good tip for you guys. If you're looking to find a property manager, make sure you figure out what the percentage is before you even go buy the property, because that could throw off your whole number if you're analyzing for 10% and then, you know, it comes back at 25% for property management. That might not be affordable for you. And then you might find that. Go ahead, Destiny.
Also, when looking in different areas, of course, Morgantown, you don't really have this, but in other areas, if you're in like an HOA or like a condo type building or community, sometimes you actually have to use those agents and they will only let you use those agents.
Yeah, that's crazy. Here's another question. How do you manage relationships with a demanding investor? And I'm happy you guys are bringing these questions too, because these are things that we want to make sure that you guys get value from. So how do you manage relationships with a demanding investor?
Well, I think I'm a very easy person to communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as long as you are, I hate to say it, but as long as you're a good person and you communicate well, I don't think that you have issues. Have I had a couple of people go toe to toe with me? Yeah, I have. But I've also put them in their place. I don't believe in being disrespectful, and I don't believe in being disrespected.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we see in this space, and I think it comes a lot from like legacy real estate investors. It was older real estate investors who they've been doing it so long. It's just to them, it's just like, hey, you do this, this, and this. And they forget that you are a human being too, you know, and also that you want your property manager to work not just for you, but with you. I think that's a very important concept for people to grasp, because at the end of the day, I want what's best for you know, I want my property manager to want what's best for my tenants, what's best for my bottom line, what's best for my property, right? And I need all three of those in a good property manager. We got one more question. As a property manager, what do you provide to your clients to stand out from others?
So I do like a full service.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of my client having to reach out and deal with like construction, maintenance, I actually go and I do the bids. But I also have a construction background. My husband and I have a construction company. I also have a design background. So instead of my clients having to deal with all of that and getting quotes and estimates and even going through remodels, I handle all of that. If they want to be involved, I'll be involved with them as much as they want to be. But if they want me to take the wheel, I take the wheel.
And that is something that is definitely underrated for property management. And then I've seen like some property management. I don't know about your company particularly. Do you guys charge or upcharge for, let's say I have a maintenance call? Do you put a 10% tax on that?
Okay, so there's two actual companies that my company has.
Mm-hmm.
There's the real estate company where I have the property management and the sales.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's BCPM that is the maintenance company.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a completely different billing system than what we do. It's still part of the property management,
Mm-hmm.
but you can choose to use them or choose not to use them. So now if it's an emergency call, then we're going to have to use them.
Gotcha.
But if you have your own contractor or subcontractor or a handyman, then I use them instead of our company.
Good. And so you have resources,
but
which
there's
is
tax
important.
on everything. You can't fight taxes.
Sure. So, and guys, that's important to understand that a good property manager will have those pocket listings for, hey, I need a maintenance man right now. They'll have that readily available for when a pipe bursts. They're not making calls then and there like, hey, I need to call Roto-Rooter, and they're not Googling. They already have these resources available for you to use and utilize, especially in emergency. And there's situations where you get emergency call, you might not be able to get anybody out for the next 24 to 48 hours in some instances. So working with a property manager who works closely with these people, they'll get them out quicker usually than you would as a, you know, if you have 1 or 2 properties or even 10, that property manager should work closely with more individuals. So definitely an advantage, and definitely might be able to get you better pricing as well than just working with, you know, your own.
Well,
Go ahead.
with our management company, we manage so much. Like we have about 1,000 units. So since we are constantly using particular contractors, they give us what some of them call a family discount. But it's not only having a relationship with contractors in town that's important, and that is extremely important, but it's also having a good relationship with like the city code and the fire marshal, inspectors in town. If you have a good relationship with them, they put you first. They take care of you, which takes care of your client. So, I mean, in kind of a way, not only do I have to be a property manager, but I have to kind of be public relations as well.
And I'll say you do more than the most property managers. So guys, take note when you go to start finding property managers, you want somebody that's going to hit all these checkpoints for you, because that is super crucial. Let's go over. We got some more in the chat. I want to focus on the chat if you don't care, Seth. Just that way we can get the people in the community answer. As an advocate for the investor, are you the first touch point for missed payments?
For missed payments?
Yep. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a team. I have a wonderful team of ladies in my office. And because I also have taken on so many properties, and what I also do on top of that with real estate sales and working with buyers, I had to hire a personal assistant. So between the ladies in the office and my personal assistant, we all tackle this together. But between me and my assistant, we got to go in, we got to do collections.
Yeah. And that's what you would expect from a property manager, to make sure the bills are paid. You know, that's the sole like main job, I think, for most people as a property. If they hire a property management company, they want the bills paid. Another call.
Well, you also have to find out if your property management company pays certain bills. Like we do not pay mortgages, and we don't pay your insurance unless you ask us to do the insurance. We will not pay your mortgage, but we will pay insurance. We'll pay HOA fees. And we have some clients that want us to pay their taxes. But a mortgage is something that we do not have.
Wow. And that's more than I expected. For me, honestly, that's something I didn't know. I never expected a property management company to pay my taxes or for my county taxes or something. So I definitely think that exceeds more than just the average property management company, for sure. Do you charge an extra fee for after-hour calls? And I would assume so, just because it's through a different company. But
no, I personally don't. And if I did, I would be super wealthy. But if it's a maintenance call, yes. If it's a maintenance call, we have to send our maintenance crew out, then yes, it is an extra charge. And then I have to deem who is responsible for that bill. Was it a tenant charge or was it an owner charge? Now, remember, it's your property. So because it's your property, you as the owner have to take responsibility for that invoice first. And then the tenant pays. So you need to find out from your property management company, when do you get paid that back from the tenant? So with our company, that bill goes on their portal. And when they pay rent, it doesn't go to rent. It goes to that bill first. So then they still owe rent, because if they still owe rent and they don't pay rent, then I get to evict them.
Yeah.
Where some management companies, they wait until the end to bill them. And I think that you can't do that because you're not going to really get your security deposit with some of their move outs.
Yeah, you're not going to get that back. Yeah.
No.
And a lot of people don't see it. You're just never going to get that money back. So you got to bill it first. I'm dealing with that right now. Would you do eviction for the owner clients? And somebody asked, would you do an eviction, and how? How do you go about that process?
So we have a guy in our office. His name is Doug. He is ex-military, Marine. He goes and he files evictions after we tell him to evict. So I have to go through And I don't like to evict if I don't need to evict, because evictions cost my owner money. Like, you don't know what the person's going to do when they leave. Are they going to trash the property? Are they going to take care of the property? Because sometimes they get angry and they do things.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do not want to evict unless I need to evict. Like, it is a last straw for me. Also, with your property management company and as an owner, sometimes you have to try to find other avenues to help them pay for their rent. Like, do you have a DHHR that will help them pay? Is there, like, we had a program here in West Virginia that was called the Mountaineer Rental Assistance Program. Well, once that was suspended, it was gone. Well, it's actually still available. People just don't know that, but as a property manager, I do know that. So that program is used for basically children in the school system. They have to be in the school system, and they help the parents pay for the rent because they want the child to have a place to live. So they'll pay back pay. There's a little bit of an interview process with the parents, but as a property manager, you got to know these things. You got to know these avenues.
Yeah.
So then once I finally decide, hey, listen, we got to get these people out, then I send it to Doug. Doug goes and he files with the courthouse. Now, on eviction day, I got to go to court.
So
As a
you're
property
going to court.
manager, I go to court.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm the one who takes my iPad with all my hundreds of photos because I got to go do a property inspection. And tenants don't really expect that. They expect to go in with their story about how they did what they did. And then when I pull my iPad out and I have hundreds of photos to show the judge, I win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just like we said, we talked about this a couple of weeks. When you go to court, this tenant might be the dirtiest tenant. The house might be a mess. But when they go to court, I bet you they got paperwork and they come in prepared. So you need to make sure that you are coming prepared to make sure that you can, because I've seen some messy tenants and they're like, well, on this day, this is what happened. It's like they got a perfect memory, but your house is like, it doesn't make any sense. And so you want to make sure that you got every receipt, you can track everything, you know that you got a scenario, you got paperwork to backtrack it. So yeah, I love it. That's great advice. Hopefully, and Destiny, we appreciate you being here, bringing value to the community. We got a couple more questions, Seth. You might have answered some of them, not even knowing.
I think it's pretty common too on the eviction side for property managers to send the owners to court, right?
Yeah.
They're like, just let me know if you need anything. Good luck at court today. And if you don't ask for those photos and stuff like that, you may not get that either. So having somebody on your team, an advocate like that that's prepared is huge.
Huge.
I think that when you're interviewing a property manager, you really need to ask them, what kind of record keeping do they have? I like the property I just took over. Everything that he did was so old school that it was all paper. It was paper receipts. They paid in cash. We don't do cash. We do not do cash. Everything has to have an actual digital code. We have to have something. But they were taking pictures on like actual cameras and printing out photos, like hard copy photos. And you can't keep a file like that. But also those photos don't show what like my iPad will do, or my iPhone will do. So just kind of dive in and ask your property manager, how do you handle move out inspections, move in inspections? How do you handle evictions? What kind of photos do you take? What kind of inspections do you take? Because we kind of do like a map line with each tenant. Not only do we do an inspection before they move in, but we have their move-in inspection that they give us when they move in. And then we have quarterly inspections with our maintenance team that goes in and changes the filters. And then I go in and do quarterly inspections unless I get to know the tenant so well and I know that they really are going to take care of the property, then I might push it to 6 months. But we go in and we do inspections and I take photos. So I take a timeline of that tenant. And then when they move out, they can't fight me.
I love that. And guys, I know you've heard me say it before, quarterly inspections are key. They are key, especially with new tenants that you don't know. And I posted a video the other day of somebody destroying one of the houses that I had back in the day, and I wasn't doing quarterly inspections on it. If I would have been doing quarterly, I would have caught it in the first place. So that is key to make sure you're doing those. I guess this kind of streamlines it too. How are you keeping track of each tenant and their situation? What tips would you give somebody?
Well, I go off of move-in date.
Mm-hmm.
So if you move in May, then 3 months after that, I already have you on calendar to check on you.
Mm.
If you're moving in August, then I have 3 months I have you on calendar to check.
Yeah.
So it's just about being mindful
Mm-hmm.
with your properties and your property manager being mindful on move-in dates and communication with the tenants.
Hey.
Also, I think if the tenant, because the tenant doesn't own the property, so truly they don't care about your property.
Yeah.
They don't care about the well-being of you, your family. They don't care about the well-being of your income. They care about them. And if they don't own the property, they don't take ownership of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't take ownership of it, they're not going to care for it.
Yep.
So the only way that you're going to make sure they care for it is you got to be present.
Yeah. Hey, and then for you guys, look, this is my I just did it the other day. This is my air filter checklist. We changing every air filter. This is how we doing our inspections. My maintenance man is gonna go through, he's gonna change these air filters. He's gonna tell me, like, yo, Ray, these people are dirty. Ray, these people. Now, most of the tenants I've had, I have very minimal turnover. I got 0 vacancy right now. But we know, and unfortunately, you'll have those tenants that are just dirty, right? And those are the ones that you kind of want to get out as soon as you can.
Well, there's a difference between dirty and damaging dirty.
Yeah. Very clear.
Are they going to cause a pest issue?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And
That's costly. That's very costly. You start
Very
getting into a pest issue and stuff like that because of the uncleanliness. That could be a huge cost on the landlord.
Yeah. Let me ask you this.
If you're working with college kids, you got to know it's going to be messy.
Yeah. And what do you do? Let's say if you catch somebody, their house is filthy, and this is off. What are your steps in this? I know it could be outlined in the lease. It's very specific to the lease. I know you guys have your lease that you use, particularly.
I give them so many days to get it clean.
Mm-hmm.
I make myself present. Presence is a big factor in a lot of human relations. I take it back to this is a human relation. As long as you're present and they know you're going to be present, they act right. So I give them so many days to clean up, and I say, I'm going to come back for an inspection. And if it's not clean, then I'm going to have to send a pest company, and you're going to have to pay for that. So when you make your rent payments, it's not going to go to rent. It's going to go to the pest.
Yeah.
If I have to come in and send a cleaning lady, that cleaning lady is going to charge me, which means I have to charge you. So when you make that rent payment, it's going to go to the cleaning.
Yeah. I love that. So jumping off, any horror stories? You want to share a horror story with us? Property management horror story, if you have any, one that pokes out like, man, this was just a bad experience in your...
Well, there's certain streets that I won't manage on anymore.
Got you.
I refuse to take on managements on certain streets. We have very few places in Morgantown that have actual issues. If I'm going to buy an investment property, it's going to be a college town like WVU. Mm-hmm. And we don't have a lot of areas that are of concern.
Yeah.
Which is great for me.
Mm-hmm.
But also, being a woman,
yeah,
I got to protect myself, and I got to make sure that I'm safe. So there's a couple of streets I will not go. I will not manage on.
And so for people who invest in out of state, this might be a key point for you to get with a property manager before you purchase that property, find one, vet it, and then ask hey, what do you think about this street? What do you think?
I've lost some real estate agents, some deals in Morgantown because I wouldn't take management.
Wow.
And I felt terrible about it because, I think I have a really good relationship with agents and other agents in town. And they referred their clients to me to manage. And I said no. So if I say no,
if your property
Yeah,
manager
maybe.
say no, that's a big red flag right then and there. That might be a red flag that maybe you shouldn't be buying this one.
well, yeah. And then when I say no, they immediately terminated.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, I mean, horror stories. I mean, no.
okay.
I mean, I have some interesting things I have found.
Mhm.
I had one client, or not one client. I'm sorry. I had one tenant that he actually made counterfeit money.
Oh wow.
And and on his application, he passed application. He was an artist. Well, then at the time of move out, I found out what kind of artist he was, and he made amazing counterfeit money, and I had to turn that into the FBI.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
put you got to pay that rent though. Yeah.
And we don't take cash.
Right, that's why you don't take cash.
Exactly.
We don't take cash.
Exactly.
So he would actually go to like a grocery store, and he would take that cash and turn it into real cash, and then he would deposit that and then write us a check.
Wow.
Yep.
And I guess we got in a chat. What areas do you stay away from? And I'm just gonna guess it's just those D areas, right? I think every property management doesn't want to manage in a D area, right?
Oh, I can tell you the street name if you want me to.
We'll put it in the chat. DeAndre, we'll ask in private because we got people from all over the US, so I don't want to get too deep. I want to make sure we give value to everybody here. Real quick, Seth, you want to go to the next slide before because I know we're running out of time. We went over how you handle maintenance requests. Do you have strategies to retain tenants for longer terms that you want to share? Anything you want to share that's not?
Strategies to retain them. It goes back to just trying to be a good property manager, like having communication with them. Like, I don't want to be the mean guy, like I want to make sure they stay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about taking care of the tenant too.
Yeah. I think the number one complaint I get when I get new tenants is the landlord didn't want to fix anything.
Yeah, but that's a problem with us. I mean, because we don't own the properties, we only manage the properties.
Mm-hmm.
So before I came on to Bell Cross, we had a lot of owners that didn't want to do things, like did not want to do things. And with the company, there wasn't a lot of property. I think it kind of changed how the management has worked with Bell Cross to be more hands-on and require more from the owners. Okay, here's a story, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to drive my little 2-door Jeep in town.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I zoom around in all day, every day. And I had an owner that had high vacancies. Like out of all of his properties, he was probably at an 85% vacancy rate.
Wow.
And Arthur, which is my broker, he said, Destiny, I really want you to take this client on. And I said, no. I was like, I am not taking on his properties. I'm not doing it. And he said, I really need you to do this. And he begged for a while and kept asking. And I have a hard time saying no to him because, he's also family and my broker. So I said, fine, I'll take him on. But I said, I have conditions. So I had the owner meet me. He jumped in my Jeep and we took a drive to every single one of his properties and walked them. And I destroyed his properties and told him exactly what he needed to do to them.
Mm.
And I called him the slumlord of Morgantown because he wasn't doing what he needed to do as a property owner to take care of the properties and his tenants. Now he is almost completely rented and has been completely rented since he gave me the properties and said, do whatever you want. And I don't about 4 or 5 months ago, we stopped giving him owner's distributions. And now we keep all of his money because he wants me to keep his money to do more things to his properties.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so that's great because there are a lot of legacy, I call them legacy landlords who've been landlords for a long time but won't invest back into their property, and then they'll see their vacancy rate go up. And so, guys, no matter how old you get, how old the property is, if you're not going to continue to invest at that point, when you know, like, hey, I'm done investing in this thing, you probably should consider selling it, because at that point, you're probably going to suck the rest of the equity out of it. It's going to depreciate faster. You're not going to get anything. You're not going to get better rents. So at that point, if you're not going to continue to invest, pass the torch down. That's kind of like one of the best things you could do, is just pass it over to somebody who will continue to invest, because you could destroy a whole community. And I've seen it happen. Whole communities destroyed by landlords who don't invest into their properties, and then their properties go vacant and people break in, and it costs a lot more to fix it up after if you didn't neglect it in the first place. So, and that is just,
it takes a lot longer for that neighborhood to rebound from that than it takes for it to drop as well.
Yeah.
So,
and that is why people give landlords a bad name. Like, if you're going to be a landlord or a real estate investor, be a good real estate investor, right? The cash flow is important, but be good, because you're influencing the community. You're shaping the community. You're shaping future appreciation. You play a big part in that and how you maintain your property, right? The tenants that you rent to shape the future. You know, having a good property management team around you shapes the future of that property. If you got dirty tenants and now you got pest problems, well, it might not just be your building or your unit. Now the pest problem spread to the next unit. Now you have rodents on the street, you know, and it's all because maybe you didn't invest, or you didn't have the right management team in place in the beginning to help you, you know, get things operating correctly, because this is a business and it needs to be operated like a business. Final question, and Destiny, we'll get out of here soon. I appreciate your time. What type of properties did you find easier to manage, residential or commercial? I know this one, but go ahead, Steph. You can go into the Q&A.
What do I find to be easier? I mean, if you have a good commercial tenant, it's easier to manage commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who is going to reinvest in the community, do what they need to do. Commercial is actually, in my opinion, is easier than residential.
100%.
Yeah, but residential, if you're going to go residential, are you going to want a college rental? Are you going to want a townhouse? Are you going to want a single family? And those all bring different obstacles. Those all bring different hurdles that you have to cross. And they all have different cash flows.
Yeah. When you rent to commercial, what would you say is one of your biggest hurdles, or one of the things you dislike, or the calls you get when renting to, you know, a commercial tenant?
It's also making sure they know in their lease what they are responsible for, because there's so many different types of leases for commercial.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for the utilities? Who's responsible for the HVAC? Who's responsible for even the drywall and the doors? Every commercial lease really needs to be very clear on who is responsible for what.
100%. And commercial, guys, I would say either find a property manager or get a good lawyer if you're going to go into commercial, because I ain't responsible for none of that. I got the 4 walls and the roof. That's about it. Everything else commercial, tenant pay for.
Yep.
And that's why I like commercial, because I don't get those phone calls from my commercial tenants. Hey, it's a leak. Okay, I just put a new roof on this thing. I put a new roof on all my commercial buildings. I don't deal with roof leaks. All the walls are good. They can handle the rest.
Commercial tenants can put 50 toilets in there. Doesn't matter.
I don't care what you do. Right?
You're never getting a toilet call as the landlord on a commercial tenant.
DeAndre said, is that a triple net lease? It depends. I mean, you could do a triple net. Either way, it could be a triple net or it could be not a triple net. If it's not a triple net, I still make my tenants responsible for everything. They're responsible for all maintenance. They're responsible for upkeep. Sometimes they're responsible for the exterior. If it's triple net, then they're going to pay what we call CAM, common area maintenance. They're going to pay towards the upkeep of that. So if there's lawn care fees, or if there's, even paving fees, we could make them responsible for. So it depends. That's all specific to each lease, though. It is all specific to each lease. And
also if you want them to be a part of the mortgage payment, insurance payment, and taxes.
Yeah. And my tenants pay all insurance. It's all triple net. everything that you get to you is net to you. That is the beautiful part of commercial. I don't pay any other expenses. I love it. Well, Destiny, I want to thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I know how valuable your time is. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. Guys, if you need to, Destiny, we got people in Morgantown. We got people all through the U.S., people that are going to be invested in Morgantown soon. If they want to, how can they reach out? What's the easiest way to reach out to you? Instagram or Facebook?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook. It's and I have my own personal webpage too. It's destinysylvester.realtor.
Okay. Guys, check her out.
You can find me on Insta.
Yep. Okay. If you guys need me, I can DM you and send her information. Destiny, you're a wealth of knowledge. So thank you again.
Well, thank you for having me, Ray.
I appreciate it. We'll end this with a quote as we usually do. A great property manager is the key to success in real estate. And I still believe that. I stick to that every day. Guys, it's been a pleasure. To the Inner Circle, we'll see you guys tomorrow. If you're part of Inner Circle, we'll see you guys tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We'll be talking next high-level stuff about property management, things that we couldn't get to today. So thank you again, Destiny. We'll see Inner Circle on tomorrow at 12 o'clock. You guys will get the invite. Everybody else, has been a pleasure. We will see you guys next Tuesday.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Y'all have a good one,
All right.
guys.